It is currently 18 degrees Fahrenheit and dropping. By 3 a.m., the wind chill will push that down to single digits. Most people look at this forest and see a landscape. I see a thermodynamics equation that is trying to balance itself by stealing every calorie of heat my body produces. If I were to pitch a standard nylon tent right now, I would be dead by morning. Why? Because tents are just windbreaks. They have zero thermal retention value. Tonight, I am not just going to build a shelter. I am going to construct a phantom fortress, a tactical survival system that leverages thermal mass, dead airspace, and geometric camouflage to create a microclimate that is 50 degrees warmer than the outside air. And I'm going to do it without a sleeping bag, without a modern heater, and most importantly, without creating a heat signature or visual profile that can be detected by anyone or anything stalking these woods. The goal isn't just to survive the night. It is to disappear and thrive while the rest of the world freezes. Before we touch a single stick, we have to talk about the silent killer, gravity. Look down there at the riverbed. It looks inviting, right? Flat ground, easy water access. But in the survival world, we call that the cold sink. You need to understand fluid dynamics. At night, as the Earth radiates its heat back into space, the air cools down. Cold air is significantly denser than warm air. It becomes heavy. It physically flows down these slopes like invisible molasses, pooling in the lowest points. I have measured temperature differentials where the valley floor was 15 degrees colder than a spot just 70 feet up the hill. If you set up camp down there near the water, you are sleeping in a freezer. Furthermore, moisture settles in the valley. Moisture is the conductor of doom. Wet air pulls heat away from your body 25 times faster than dry air, so we are moving up. But we aren't going to the ridgeline either. The top of the hill is the shear zone. That is where the wind speed accelerates as it compresses over the peak. You build there, and convective cooling, the wind stripping away your heat layer, will kill you faster than the cold air in the valley. We are hunting for the Goldilocks zone, or what geologists call the thermal belt. It is typically found right in the middle third of the slope. Here, the sliding cold air flows right past you, and you are generally above the heavy moisture layer but below the high winds. I have found our spot, and I chose it because of this massive basalt rock formation. In the original survival manuals, they tell you to build near rock. I am telling you to build with the rock. This isn't just a windbreak. It is a thermal battery. This stone face has been baking in the winter sun for 6 hours. It has absorbed megajoules of solar energy. Tonight, when the air temperature plummets, this rock will undergo thermal lag. It will slowly release that stored heat in the form of infrared radiation. My plan is to capture that radiation. I'm going to position the opening of my shelter roughly 4 feet from this rock face. This creates a heat trap. The radiation will bounce off the rock, hit my shelter, and reflect back. It creates a feedback loop of warmth. If I were to build just 10 feet away in the open woods, I would lose 30% of my heat efficiency instantly. Now, let's talk about the ground. The ground is a thief. It wants to reach up and suck the heat right out of your femoral arteries through a process called conduction. You can have the best roof in the world, but if you are lying on the dirt, you are finished. Most people make a fatal mistake here. They clear the ground to bare earth. Do not do that. We need to build a dielectric barrier. I am looking for dry, dead materials. Pine needles are gold, dead ferns are silver. I am going to harvest huge armfuls of this material. We are not just making a pile. We are engineering a mattress. I need this bed to be at least 12 inches thick before I even lay on it. Why 12 inches? Because once my 180-pound body weight compresses it, it will shrink down to about 4 inches. Those 4 inches of compressed dry material create millions of tiny air pockets. In physics, dead air is the best insulator known to man. It stops the transfer of heat. By suspending my body on this mattress of air, I am essentially floating above the conductive freeze of the earth. I am not building a bed. I am building a disconnection device from the frozen planet beneath me. With our dielectric mattress complete, we need to build the skeleton. In survival engineering, your ridgepole, the main support beam, is your lifeline. If this breaks under the weight of snow or heavy rain, you are crushed. It's that simple. I'm not hacking down live trees. Cutting green wood is an amateur move. It leaves bright white scars in the forest that are visible from 100 yards away. It releases fresh sap scent that travels on the wind. Plus, green wood bends. We need rigidity. I have located a dead-standing lodgepole pine, roughly 6 inches in diameter. It is seasoned, strong, and its color already matches the forest floor. This will be the spine. I am anchoring one end of the spine into the crook of our basalt rock formation, roughly waist-high. This angle is calculated. If the roof is too low, I feel claustrophobic and condensation from my breath will soak my sleeping gear. If it is too high, I am heating a cathedral, not a cockpit. Waist height creates the perfect volume to surface area ratio for a human body to heat efficiently. Now we place the ribs. These are smaller, dead branches leaning against the spine. Most people just throw sticks against the ridge pole randomly. That is structural chaos. We need geometric regularity on the inside, but chaos on the outside. I am placing these ribs at a 45-degree angle. Why 45 degrees? In physics, this is the optimal angle for shedding water while retaining structural stability against wind shear. I am placing them close together, no gap wider than my hand. If your ribs are too far apart, the debris insulation we add later will fall through into your sleeping space. This is called infiltration, and it destroys your dead airspace. Here is the critical detail the manuals miss. You must snap off any twigs pointing inward. One sharp twig poking you in the back at 2 a.m. will ruin your sleep efficiency. However, leave the twigs pointing outward. These are your friction anchors. They will hold the insulation in place so it doesn't slide off during a storm. Now comes the labor. We are not just piling leaves. We are constructing a thermal envelope. In this damp, high-altitude environment, moisture is the enemy. Wet insulation is conductive. If my debris gets soaked, it pulls heat away from me. Since I don't have a tarp, I need to use the shingle method. I am starting at the bottom with a layer of large bark slabs scavenged from fallen trees. This acts as a moisture break against splashback from the ground rain. Next, I am piling on the debris, pine needles, dried moss, leaves. But I am not just dumping it. I am arm-loading it and compressing it slightly. We need density. A fluffy pile lets wind blow right through convective cooling. A pile that is too tight conducts heat out. We need the Goldilocks density, springy but substantial. The rule of thumb used to be 2 feet of debris. I don't trust rules of thumb, I trust physics. I am going for 3 feet, 36 inches of thickness on all sides. Why? Because the dew point, the point where warm air from my body meets cold outside air and condenses into water, needs to happen far away from my body. With 3 feet of insulation, that condensation point happens near the outer surface of the shelter, keeping my inner sanctum bone dry. This is 90% of the work. It is exhausting. It burns calories. But every armful of debris is a degree of warmth gained tonight. I'm essentially building a bear den. Stand back. Look at the shelter. Right now, it looks like a giant man-made triangle in the middle of the woods. Nature rarely creates perfect triangles. To the trained eye or a drone using thermal imaging, this screams human. We need to apply disruptive patterning. I am taking heavy branches, old logs, and even some small dead saplings, and I am leaning them against the shelter randomly. I am not adding them for structure. I am adding them to break the silhouette. I want to disrupt that straight ridge line. Next, I am feathering the edges. I'm taking loose debris and spreading it out from the base of the shelter into the surrounding forest floor, creating a gradient. There should be no hard line where the shelter starts and the forest ends. Finally, the fallout test. I grab handfuls of forest, duff dirt, needles, dust, and throw it high into the air over the shelter. Let it rain down naturally. This coats the outer layer in a fine dust that matches the exact color and texture of the surrounding area, muting any fresh breaks or disturbed leaves. From 50 feet away, this doesn't look like a shelter. It looks like a hummock, a natural mound of earth, or an old brush pile. It creates zero visual contrast. In a tactical environment, being unseen is just as important as being warm. The shelter is built, the camouflage is set. But physics dictates that dead airspace only retains heat. It does not generate it. My metabolic output is 100 watts. That is enough to survive, but I want to thrive. I want to sleep in my base layer. To do that, I need an active heat source. However, lighting a fire inside a debris hut is tactical suicide. The smoke gives away your position, and the carbon monoxide can kill you in your sleep. A Dakota fire hole is good, but even that has a thermal signature visible to drones. I am initiating the hot rock transfer protocol. 200 yards away far enough to disassociate the heat source from my shelter, I have built a small, intense fire. In that fire, I placed 5 fist-sized river rocks, basalt or granite only. Porous rocks explode. They have been soaking up heat for 2 hours. I am transporting these rocks back to the shelter wrapped in green bark. I am not bringing the fire. I am bringing the energy. I dig a small depression in the center of my shelter floor, right between my legs. I bury the hot rocks under 2 inches of dirt. This turns the floor of my shelter into a radiant floor heating system. The dirt acts as a thermal regulator, releasing the heat slowly over 6 to 8 hours instead of all at once. This is invisible heating, no smoke, no light, no smell. Just pure infrared radiation rising up to warm my core. We have built a tomb of insulation. That creates a new danger: hypoxia, oxygen deprivation, and hypercapnia, carbon dioxide poisoning. A perfectly sealed debris hut is a coffin. As I breathe, I consume oxygen and exhale CO2. Since this shelter is small, I could easily use up the available oxygen before morning. We need a lung. I am taking a stick, roughly the thickness of my arm, and I am punching a hole through the wall near my head. This is the intake valve. Cold, oxygen-rich air is dense. It will naturally try to enter low. At the very highest point of the ridgeline, I am loosening the debris just slightly. This is the exhaust valve. Warm air rises. As my body heat warms the internal air, it creates positive pressure. This is passive ventilation dynamics. I am using my own body heat to power an air circulation pump that keeps me alive without cooling down the shelter significantly. The entrance is the weak link. It is a giant hole in my thermal envelope. If I just crawl in and pile leaves behind me, the cold air will filter through. I have constructed a door plug. It is essentially a thick pillow made of woven branches stuffed tight with dry moss and pine needles. It is shaped like a wedge, not a flat door. When I crawl inside, I pull this wedge into the opening. Because of its shape, the harder I pull, the tighter it seals. It creates an airlock. It effectively makes the wall thickness at the door equal to the wall thickness of the roof. 8 p.m. ambient temperature, 16 degrees Fahrenheit, -8 degrees Celsius. Shelter internal temp, 48 degrees Fahrenheit, 8 degrees Celsius. Status: I have just sealed the airlock. The ground rocks are radiating heat. I can feel the warmth rising through the dirt floor. I am removing my outer shell jacket. The wind is howling outside, but inside it is dead silent. The acoustic insulation is just as impressive as the thermal. 11 p.m. ambient temperature, 12 degrees Fahrenheit, -11 degrees Celsius. Shelter internal temp, 68 degrees Fahrenheit, 20 degrees Celsius. Status: the physics of the thermal battery are compounding. My body heat plus the buried rocks, plus the reflected radiation from the cliff face outside have created a tropical microclimate. I am sweating. I have stripped down to a t-shirt. The differential is now 56 degrees. Think about that. A plastic tarp creates a 5-degree difference. This debris fortress is giving me 56 degrees. 4 a.m. ambient temperature, 8 degrees Fahrenheit, -13 degrees Celsius. Shelter internal temp, 62 degrees Fahrenheit, 16 degrees Celsius. Status: the rocks are cooling down, but the thermal mass of the shelter walls has stabilized. The temperature has dipped slightly but leveled off. I have slept for 5 solid hours. Deep REM sleep. In a survival situation, sleep is your weapon. It restores cognitive function. While the cold is draining the will to live from anyone exposed outside, I am recharging. 7 a.m. ambient temperature, 9 degrees Fahrenheit, -12 degrees Celsius. Shelter internal temp, 59 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 degrees Celsius. Status: the sun is rising. I am waking up warm. No shivering, no stiffness. I have successfully bypassed the survival struggle entirely. I am breaking down the shelter now. We leave no trace. We scatter the debris. We return the logs. Within 20 minutes, this phantom fortress is gone. If a tracker walked past this spot an hour from now, they would see nothing but a pile of leaves. We didn't just survive the cold. We weaponized physics to defeat it. We used thermal mass from the rock, dielectric insulation from the debris, and thermodynamic flow for ventilation. Survival isn't about fighting nature. Nature is heavier than you. You will lose a wrestling match. Survival is about engineering. It's about understanding the invisible forces, gravity, heat transfer, fluid dynamics, and building a system that makes them work for you. Learn the physics, and you don't just survive. You dominate. Primal Methods out.